Hey everyone, it's officially the 1st of January 2025. Wishing everyone a beautiful new year and a wonderful year ahead. All right, so recently a friend of mine reached out to me, and okay, well, not reached out to me, just said I should talk about a topic, DNS, right? And so while I was researching the topic, I wanted to open with the line, visit this IP address and now visit it with the domain name. As you all know, DNS is a domain name server, which is like the phone book of the web. Well, a lot of articles have explained it as it's in a simple analogy, right? It's the phone book of the web. It was it was coined the time where IP addresses were hard to remember and DNS domain names were just human friendly. So imagine you had like a lot of contacts with numbers, right? And you're looking for Kelly. How you have to call like a bunch of all of them and asking, "Are you Kelly? Are you Kelly? Are you Kelly?" you you actually reach the right person. So normally DNS domain name server was a way to map an IP address to a domain name that was easier for humans to understand. Like you can just save a number with the name you remember, Debbie, Domino's, female, tall, whatever we save contacts with. So yeah, this has been the analogy for explaining how a DNS works, right? And I initially wanted to get into how it works, the intricacies into it, how it maps the IP addresses and all. But that my opening line actually led me to something different from that. So I had to explore because I wanted to like say, okay, visit the IP address you know, and then now visit with the domain name, which is better, or which can you remember? But that led me to what I initially focused on. IP addresses are not or IP addresses mapped to domain names are not just as simple as they used to be, right? Because of how complex or how modern the web has gotten, a lot of this it has gotten more complex than just mapping IP addresses to domain names. So what do I mean? All right. So take for example shared hosting, right? Uh, Shared hosting is when you get a server or when a company gets a server, and when a company gets a server and they because of how expensive things are, right? They just share it with how expensive it is to host a server or to own a server. They share it among different people, so everyone gets a slice of this server. They take out this whole CPU resources, memory, whatever, and shared among a lot of people so that the cost is low for just one person. That's why you can't get domains for like $2 or thereabouts. So because of this and also the limitation of the IP address, a lot a lot of IP addresses a single IP address is mapped to a lot of uh, domain names or applications. So instead of instead of using this one IP address to map to my own domain name, it's now mapped to 100 or more or a lot. So how applications now differ or address this issue or address this not an issue address is that they use the domain name in the headers to differentiate between the applications, right? So now the web has now been structured or formed or improved or innovated. I don't know the word to use, but yeah, to actually instead of IP addresses, it's now being in favor of domain names because IP addresses have posed some limitations. So yeah, for shared hosting, that is it. One is IP addresses being mapped to a lot of applications or domain names. So It's no longer just one IP address to one domain name. It's not like one IP address to a bunch of domain names, which we now need that domain name to differentiate between whose application is which, right? So how that is done is you pass the header, you pass the host name, that's the domain name, into the HTTP header and all. Then you have also load balancer, right? As load balancer, as the name implies, it distributes traffic, right, to multiple servers. So in terms of like users of thousand millions or whatever, they don't know which load balancer they're going to get. So in this point, this one does is it takes multiple a single domain name and distributes it among different servers, which can have its own IP address. And then a user doesn't know which server is going to process their own IP address. And also, even using just IP address to access the information is going to be limiting because it's going to be hard to manage because a user already has an IP address and all you can no longer be shifting them between servers, or if the server that the user already is using goes down, you need to switch to another server. And will you tell them, oh, sorry, our domain name has been, our IP address has been updated. Now use this one. That would be just too hectic and difficult to manage. So this is another reason why where domain names shine because just give them a single domain name. They don't need to know what is going on behind the scenes. They just know that they call this domain name and they get their information, right? Whichever servers process that is they don't care about that, they don't know that. Whichever, right? So it can be three servers, it can be 10, it can be whatever, having their own IP address and processing the information. If one goes down, the other line continue and just get to the flow of that. So yeah, that's another reason how IP addresses are why we're in favor of domain names. So yeah, then there is the content delivery network. So if anyone doesn't know, content delivery network is so say for example, as users grow, right? As users grow, you need to okay, imagine someone in say New Zealand or Australia trying to access a content in Canada. People in Canada are going to get this content faster than people in Australia or New Zealand because the distance is lesser and the latency is low. So now what companies do is that they each pick up servers in these different locations and put their cached content there so that when you want to access the content, instead of having to go all the way to a different country, you just access the one closest to you, right? And these servers all have different IP addresses. And it's just like saying, oh, and because of how you can update the server, you can update like say one was in a particular country and you decided to now have like three or four there. You're now telling your users, okay, we'll see, we have updated the servers now. This is the new IP address. If you're in this social location, take this one. If you're in this social location, take this one. It's just going to be too hectic to manage, right? So the domain names are just better because that way everyone just has one domain name. Whoever is handling their whichever server, whichever place is coming from, they don't know about that. But all they know is that the information is getting to them at the in time and with and fast. That's really all users care about. Really, am I getting my information fast? Am I getting it? Is it what I want? Yeah, that is all. Whatever intricacies you guys handle it by yourself. Yeah, and so the last, oh, I think that's actually the last. All right, so in conclusion, the domain name, sorry, the DNS is no longer that simple phone book analogy that we usually use, say mapping is one IP address to a domain name, although it is the truth is in it, but it's not just as simple as that anymore because of how the web has improved or innovated, or I don't know the word to say, but how the web has gotten complex. So to be honest, the web has gotten complex. It was not just the simple way it was before. So basically, you will not be able to access a website with just its IP address. You always probably have to use its domain name, except you're doing some server side stuff where you're trying to ping it to a particular server, then you can access it by its IP address, right? That is different. But for everyday users, not so much. So yeah, you do can access servers with their IP addresses. But most of the times, if you go to the browser or if you want to access people's websites, you probably don't know where they're hosted or something. So it's, the web has gone in favor of using domain names fully to access websites or access content applications. All right, that is basically it for today. Thank you guys for listening. If you, I think, subscribe, like, whatever. Anyway, see you in the next video.